Hey guys, welcome to another video tutorial. Tonight I'm going to show you how to do the Starburst granny square. This is a really fun granny square. It's one of those ones that starts out as a circle and eventually turns into a square. I think they're so beautiful, and I think they're best done when it's a gradient from like a rainbow. Or you can even start with like white and work like yellows and ombres out. It really makes a beautiful visual impact. So let's get started. Tonight you're going to need any yarn that you're working with and the appropriate hook size. I'm using a worsted number 4 weight yarn with the recommended hook size, 5 millimeters. You'll also need your large eye hook and your scissors. Push those out of the way for now. I'm going to assume that you know all of your basic stitches. I'm just going to quickly show you how to do the Starburst. So if you don't know any of your basic stitches, this is not the tutorial for you. There are plenty of other learn how to crochet tutorials on YouTube. Go check those out and then catch back with us later. What else did I want to tell you? Oh, I want to tell you that I will have all of the yarn colors down in the description box for you because lots of people have been asking for them, so I figured I should let you guys know. All right, let's get started. We're going to start with a slip knot. You can do a magic circle if you like. I don't like them, so I'm not going to do one. I do a slip knot this way. You can do yours any way that you do it. I think there's a million different ways. Okay, so let's do chain 4. Okay, and then we're going to slip stitch to that 4th chain from the hook to create a circle. Okay, and we're going to be working into that circle. We are going to chain 2, 1, 2, and I'm going to work 11 double crochet stitches into the center of this ring. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And it might curl up on you. That's okay. Pull your tail tight if it does that. It'll help flatten it out for you. And if you run out of room in your circle, just pull your stitches back. It's okay. You're not going to ruin your crochet work or anything like that. Pull them back, make room. So that first chain 2 counts as a stitch. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in total. Perfect. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch over here, not my chain 2, okay? I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet stitch because I'm crazy like that. No, the reason I do that is because I like that invisible seam. If you chain 3 to start your round and then you slip stitch to end your round in the top of your chain 3, then you end up getting these holes and gapes in your work and it doesn't look as uniform and as nice. So that's why I do that. Okay, I'm gonna cut my yarn. And I am going to work this tail into the back loops just for a couple stitches, just to deal with the tail so that I don't have to sew it in. So I'm gonna insert my hook into the back loop and kind of pull that through. I'm gonna do that 3, 4 times maybe. Okay. Flip my circle over and then work it into those back loops again, which are now technically your front loops because you flipped it. Okay, so we can cut this tail off because we worked 12 stitches over it. So you don't have to worry about that one anymore. And I'm going to do my next round before snipping off this tail just to make sure that it's super secure. Okay, you can insert your hook in between any double crochet stitches. Doesn't matter where. I like to kind of throw it in where the end of the tail is just so that I can work over it and get it all dealt with. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, this color was Fire Red. I'm using, tonight I'm using the Michaels store brand Loops and Threads, Impeccable, and this is Fire Red. Okay, my next color, I think it's called Grape Fizz. Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I will have the correct name for it, if that's not it, down in the description box. So, place the yarn over your hook, okay? In between your two stitches, pull through. You're going to yarn over, grab both of them, and finish it. Drop your tail, okay? And then we're going to work over this tail. Chain 1. And then work another stitch in between, right here. A double crochet, okay? So it's a little bit dark, sorry. Probably not the best color to use. But we've got technically two stitches in there. And we're gonna do that for every single one around. We're gonna work 2 double crochet stitches into the space between these ones. 1, 2. And in the next one, 1, 2. Maybe I can adjust my light a little bit more. Is that better? A little bit. 1, 2. One, 2. All the way around. And if I'm going too fast, just pause the video, get caught up, and then hit play again. Okay, so we've made it all the way around, working 2 stitches into every space in between your double crochets from the first round. And now we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet, not into your chain 2 here, okay? Into the top of that stitch there, okay, to finish that round. Let's get rid of that horrible dark color, because that's not helpful at all. Again, into the back loops, okay? I'm going to do my slip stitches, or slip stitch the tail. I don't know, what would you call it? Hooking the tail? Weaving the tail. I am weaving the tail into the back of my stitches. Okay, so we've got a nice little circle going here. So just like the previous round, we're going to work into the spaces between the little groups that we've created. So where's the start of my row or my round here? I'm going to insert right here. Grab my next color, which is Brite Sky Blue. Okay, place the yarn over, pull through, yarn over both of them. Okay, that's your first chain and then chain 1. Okay, so that counts as a chain and a join all in one, and then that's your other chain. So you technically have like a chain 2 here, right? Yarn over, we're going to work 3 double crochets in every space between these groups of 2. Working over that tail again, okay? So that's my first 3. That chain 2 counts as 1. Into the next one, 3 double crochet. This is one of my favorite granny squares. I love the gradient effect. Or the radiating effect, I guess you could call it, of that center circle that looks like a star. It's beautiful. And I always feel like the circles that turn into granny squares end up going a little bit faster, or they feel faster to me. I don't know why that is. Your traditional square granny squares feel like they take forever sometimes. Oops. Okay, I've finished my round. I've worked 3 double crochets in between every group of 2 from the previous round. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the first double crochet, the top of this one here, not my chain 2. Okay, there we go. Just like so. We're gonna fasten off, finish off that end. And just like in the previous end, I'm going to work it into the back loops here. Pull that knot nice and flat when you do. And just 3 or 4 stitches, 5. Go nuts, do 7. No, I'm kidding, that's way too much. That would take all your time up. And the reason I do this is just to take care of those ends so that I don't have to do as much sewing afterwards, really. That's why I do it. So when we look at the back, there's a few of these that I can get rid of. Definitely the red, definitely the purple that I worked over, and the purple that I weaved in. Now, this blue, you can see where I worked over that tail. You can do it that way. All right, so in the purple round, you can't see when I worked over my starting tail because the stitches are close enough together. In this next round though, they're a little more spaced out, so you can kind of see it being carried over. It's not as noticeable with these darker colors, but when you have really bright contrasting colors like a lime green and a red or whatever, then it becomes really obvious. So sometimes I don't work over that tail and I just weave it back and forth into the back of that starting sequence. So for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm gonna leave it. But just know that if I can see it too much, I usually sew it in because I hate that look. Yeah. Okay, next round. What color are we doing? Oh, Jade. Hello, Jade. All right, so place it over. We're working in between our stitches again. Chain 2. So this round is the round we turn it into a square. We can do this 2 ways. You can work double crochet stitches in your corners and double crochet stitches that'll create your sides, or you can work treble crochet stitches in your corners and double crochet stitches along the sides. So I'm tempted to show you both ways here because it makes actually a very big difference in the look of your square. So if you do, let me just show you the first way. If you do just regular double crochet stitches, the way a typical granny square is done, you would chain 2. So remember my attaching join here is a chain 1, and so I have a chain 2 here. I didn't pull that tight enough. There we go. And we're gonna work a corner, so we're gonna do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. The stitches will probably be tight because you're putting a lot in that corner there, so just pull them back, make room, spread it out, make room for everyone. And then we're going to work double crochets here and here. We're going to do 3 of them. Okay, and this is going to create our sides of the square. So when we do it this way, with the regular double crochet stitches in the corners, it creates an almost rounded square, like it's not quite perfectly square. Whereas if you do trebles in the corner, it creates this really, really sharp, pointy, perfect square. So the choice is yours. I would say the only downside to the trebles, so I'm just going to show you how that looks. See how that's kind of rounded still at the top? Okay, so you would follow this all the way around if you want to do it this way. You would do, you know, 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets along your sides, and then work a corner, and then 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, work a corner, 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and join. And that will create your kind of rounded square. And then when you put your 5th round on, it will become, like the more rounds you put on, the more square it will be. But I'm just going to show you the other way of doing it, which is with the trebles, because I think it looks really sharp. So you attach your yarn the exact same way, but we're going to do a chain 3 to start. Okay, and then yarn over twice for your treble. Okay, just like so. So yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, chain 2 in the corner, and then we're going to do 3 more trebles. And then in the sides, working along the side here, we're just going to do regular double crochets. So 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and then wrap your yarn twice. We're going to do our treble corner here. So 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. I'll just show you how perfectly square that is. See how nice and sharp and perfectly pointy that square is? So that's a really nice way of doing it. So the other way is a more gradual way, and it kind of goes with a gradient really, really well. Whereas this way kind of like abruptly ends the circle. So it looks like a very obvious circle in a square. So it's up to you. I'm going to continue on with this way since it's done. So we work 3 double crochets, yeah, you just play around with it, see which one you like the most, and go for it. I change it up regularly, especially if I'm doing like an ombre effect. It's kind of nice to have the more rounded square as you work your way through the rounds. It just kind of, I don't know, goes with it a little bit better, you know? This very obvious treble corner square round, oops, almost makes it look more like a flower, I guess, because the center is so obviously a circle, and then this 4th round is so obviously a square. So it depends on the look you're trying to achieve. Whatever you choose to do for this fourth round does not have any effect on your next round. Your next round, you're going to work the same no matter which way you chose. So it's just really this round that you get to be a little bit different in your corners. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and I'm going to join to the first treble, the top of that first treble, not the chain 3, okay? And if you had worked just double crochets here, you would work into the top of your double crochet stitch and not your chain 2. So we're going to fasten off, and that just, again, creates a really nice clean finish and an invisible looking round. So there you have a really nice square, perfectly square starburst. And you can stop here, like you can leave that as your final round. It's a good size square. Let's see, do I have a measuring tape? It's fairly decent size. Let's see here, just for giggles. So that's a 4-inch square, right? That's decent. So what can I cut off? This one and, oh, I'll work over that one first. Don't get too carried away. Unfortunately, you have to start sewing them in the corners. There's no other way to do that. So what I do is I skip this first and then just weave it back and forth a couple times, 3-4 times, and that'll have locked it down on itself and you're good to go. You can rest assured that your hard work and your blanket or whatever you're using your squares for is not going to fall apart. It's probably my biggest nightmare. So you can start in any corner, it doesn't matter which corner. I'm going to be adding my last round, and this is the round that you work the same regardless of how you did your 4th round. So what color is this? Citron, I believe. So this is just your standard granny square round. Start with a chain 2 and then work your double crochets. Oh dear, I'm caught on something. There we go. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets. I will say that if you like a tighter granny square, like if you like granny squares with less holes, the treble corner is not for you because it does create quite a big hole in that spot. Whereas if you work, you know, a double crochet corner, they're, you know, a much more decent, manageable size, and your toes won't poke through your through your blanket or whatever. So, something else to consider. And we're just going to work along, double crochets, 3 of them in every space. I'm not chaining in between them. You can if you want. I don't like to, because I do like a tighter looking granny square. And when you get to your corner, 3 double crochets and a chain 2. And 3 double crochets. almost there. I really like working these Starburst squares with the rainbow, as I said earlier. Normally I do, for the Impeccable, I include a yellow. I think it's called Sunshine or Sunny Day or something like that. And orange Crush from their line. And then I mix up the squares. So I start with a different color in the center and work my way through the whole rainbow for all the different squares, and then I just kind of throw them together randomly, and it makes a really beautiful blanket. So we've reached the end of our round. I'm going to join up to the top of that stitch there and knot into my chain 2, fasten off. And because this is my last round, I don't like to weave my tail into the backs of the stitches because I'm probably gonna crochet my blanket together. So I don't want to have a bumpy corner. I usually do like a join as you go or a continuous join as you go, so I don't want it to be too thick in the corners because they end up getting pretty intense when you're join as you go. Okay, so I'm going to flip my square over. I'm going to insert my hook into the backs of these stitches here. I'm going to work my way down towards this tail here. Okay, I'm going to pull that tight so that the knot becomes flat, but not so tight that I've indented my work. Okay, so just fiddle with it. And then I'm going to work both my tails at the same time. So I'm going to skip this first thread of yarn. Back and forth 3 or 4 times, and then you know it's not going to come out. When you work your yarn back and forth on each other, it kind of locks it into place rather than just like weaving it all in and around. That's not an effective way of weaving in your tails. Especially if you're making like baby blankets or something that's going to be washed a lot, it will come undone. Okay, flip it over and adjust your corners here. Square them out. Don't worry, you're not going to ruin it. Play with it, adjust it, and there you have it. Your beautiful Starburst granny square. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial, guys. Take care.